I'm showing templates in place for this design, and the important thing to note here, the most important thing really, would be the 29.5-inch elevation. So the laser line here is showing what would be level at 29.5. And it might be a little confusing, but the line goes to the cleat, and then the 3/4 inch piece on top of it is actually where the top of the bottom of the base units would be. The reason this is important is because if I install everything level and go on this line as I should with the base run, we've got a bookcase elevation we're trying to determine where we get from the floor to the ceiling. So the base units would go in starting on this side here, so it can slide in clear of the window trim. And then this unit on this side would go in. So ultimately you would end up with exactly what you see here once the base units are installed. Then the bookcase needs to come in and go on top of the base units. And what you would get here is you would get a unit that just barely fits. So there's almost no room, and it would be tough to slide that guy into place with all that room. Now, if you go over to this side, same elevation, there's almost an inch of bounce here, which is not uncommon. Actually, it's more common than not. And that's what we would plan for. We would plan for a unit to be this size, so it is at its max limit to be able to fit into the space. Now, what I do need to note is this data location, because we are probably going to, if not reroute it, pull it through the back of the base unit, and same with this outlet. So I'm going to draw those in on my wall cleat here to make sure that there's no framing behind the, or no framing in front of the outlet in the back part or the guts of the unit. Free and clear over here, so there's nothing that I need to work around. And a thing that Candace and I just talked about was, what are we going to do with the base trim? If you were to take the base trim and wrap it into the unit, so the base trim would turn right here and go all the way across, and then miter into this here, I would actually have to cope it in, but I would make it look nice and neat. Then you would have more of a feeling of a built-in unit, because the base trim is going to wrap the bottom lateral part of the face frame, so we would make that a little taller if you decided to do that. If not, you would just bed the base trim into the vertical rail like this. Obviously it would be up here, but the cut on the base trim would just be a straight cut that would go right into that vertical section of the face frame, the right vertical section. So those are your two options. What I would recommend doing, if we make this bottom lateral part of the face frame bigger so that we can wrap that base trim, so essentially there's no toe kick, there's just a very tall bottom lateral face frame, you could wrap that, but these doors are going to get much smaller. So if we add 5 inches to this, I would add 5 inches to this and take 5 inches out of the overall elevation of the bookcase. And then we'll still aim for this 11-inch opening. That I'll know after I calculate all this stuff tonight, but I definitely wanted to point it out in the video. I like to cover everything here. There really isn't much else to go through. We will have to talk about a trim package, because that 1-inch gap I showed over here, what we're gonna wanna do is put a crown molding going across and hide that gap, and then have a taller top lateral face frame section, so the reveal after the molding is applied is consistent with the reveal of the rest of the face frame.